For 11 years, my husband's gray buggy sat in another woman's lane every Tuesday evening, plain as a crow on snow, and half the district saw it there. The deacon saw it, my neighbors saw it, my own sister saw it, and not one soul, not one, ever said a word to me. I found out from a 19-year-old bride who had lived in our district for exactly 6 weeks, and the way she found out will make your blood run cold. Before I tell you how a plain, God-fearing Amish woman of 61 years discovered that her whole community had been keeping her husband's secret, do me one kindness. If stories like mine matter to you, stories of quiet women who finally found their voices, press that like button and subscribe to this channel, because there are more of us out here than you know, and every subscription helps another story get told. Now settle in, because I am going to tell you everything from the very beginning, and I am not going to leave anything out. Not this time. I have spent 11 years being protected from the truth. I will not spend one more minute protecting anyone from it. My name is Rebecca, and I was born in a white farmhouse 3 miles from the one I live in now. I have worn a prayer covering every day of my life since I was a small girl. I have never driven a car, never owned a telephone that hung on my own wall, never had my photograph taken on purpose. I say this not to make myself sound strange to you, but so you understand the world I come from. In my world, everything is close. Everything is known. When a man's horse throws a shoe on the North Road, 3 families know it by supper. When a woman burns her apple butter, the smell carries the news for her. We live pressed together like jars on a cellar shelf, and we like it that way. We are taught that this closeness is what keeps us safe, that the community sees everything, and because it sees everything, no one can fall too far without a dozen hands reaching out to catch them. I believed that my whole life. I believed it the way I believe the sun comes up over the Stoltzfus dairy every morning. And that belief is the first thing this story took from me. Not my marriage. My marriage, as it turns out, had been gone a long time before I knew to grieve it. No, the first thing I lost was the belief that all those watching eyes were watching out for me. I married Abram when I was 20 years old. He was 23, tall in the shoulders, with hands that could gentle the most nervous colt in the county. Everyone said I had done well for myself. His family farmed 200 acres of the best bottomland in the district, and he was the kind of young man the older men nodded at in approval after church. Steady, they said. A worker. Not a talker. But who needs a talker? Talk doesn't fill a silo. And for a long time, I would have told you, we were happy. We were something, anyway. We were busy, which in my community can look like the same thing if you don't hold it up to the light. We raised 7 children in that farmhouse. 7. I buried 2 parents and helped him bury his. I put up thousands of quarts of beans and tomatoes and peaches. I sewed his shirts and his trousers, hemmed his broadfall pants, washed his sweat out of everything he owned every Monday of my life, hung it all on the line where the whole road could see it flap. Even our laundry was public. That's the joke of it, when I let myself laugh, which is not often yet. Even my washing was seen by everyone. Everything about my life was visible to my neighbors. Everything except the one thing that mattered. Abram was never cruel to me. I want to be honest, because I promised you I would tell it all. And telling it all means telling the parts that don't make him a monster. He never raised his hand to me. He never shamed me in front of the children. He ate what I cooked and said it was good. On winter nights, he would sometimes read aloud from the Bible while I mended, and his voice was low and even, and I would think, this is a good life, a plain life, a good life. If there was a coolness in him, a room in the house of him where I had never been allowed, I told myself all men have that room. My mother had told me as much before my wedding. Men keep a part of themselves in the barn, she said, and a wise wife doesn't go looking for it. So I didn't go looking. For 41 years of marriage, I did not go looking, and now I lie awake some nights and wonder, if I had looked, even once, how much sooner would I have found her? Her name is Lydia. I am going to use her name, because for 11 years everyone in my district said it in whispers behind my back, and I think it is time it got said out loud, in the open, where names belong. Lydia was widowed young. Her husband was killed when a loaded hay wagon rolled on the Hertzler Hill, and that was a true sorrow, a real one, and the whole community grieved with her the way we do. Casseroles and barn help and men taking turns to cut her hay. She had a small farm out past the mill road, maybe 4 miles from us by the road. Less if you cut across the Byler pasture. A pretty little place. White house, green blinds, a stand of walnut trees along the lane. I had been in her kitchen. I want you to sit with that a moment, the way I have had to. I had been in that woman's kitchen. I had helped clean it after her husband's funeral. I had washed her dishes with my own hands while she sat in the front room receiving mourners, and one of the mourners sitting with her, holding his hat on his knee, saying the proper quiet things, was my Abram. That was 12 years ago this spring. The funeral, I mean. And the arrangement, as I have come to call it, because I cannot yet make my mouth form the other word without my throat closing. The arrangement began, near as I can piece together, about 8 months after we buried her husband. 11 years. My youngest daughter was married in that time. 4 of my grandchildren were born in that time. I nursed Abram through pneumonia in that time, sat up 3 nights running with cool cloths and beef broth, praying so hard for God to spare my husband that my hands shook. 11 years of Tuesdays. Because it was always Tuesdays. That was the detail that undid me most. In the end, not the fact of it, but the orderliness of it. Tuesday was the day Abram drove to the far side of the district for what he told me was a standing arrangement to help old Menno with his herd, and later, after Menno passed, to check on a piece of pasture land he said he was thinking of leasing, and later still, some business with a harness maker that never seemed to conclude. 11 years of Tuesday reasons, each one handed to me across the supper table, plain and dull as a spoon, and I took every single one and asked nothing. Why would I ask? Wives in my world do not audit their husbands. A man's business is a man's business. I had supper waiting when he came home, always a little later on Tuesdays, always with the smell of another farm on him. And don't you know, I washed those Tuesday shirts along with all the others, Monday after Monday, year after year, and never once smelled anything on them but a man's honest day. Or maybe I did smell it. That is one of the things the mind does to you afterward. It goes back through 40 years of ordinary days like a woman going through a drawer, and it holds things up and says, "What about this? Did you know? Did some part of you know?" I will tell you what I have decided, after a year of turning it over. I have decided that a person can know something the way a field knows there is rock under it. Nothing shows on the surface. The corn comes up fine, but the plow jumps in the same spot every spring, and you learn, without ever saying it to yourself, not to push deep right there. For 11 years, I did not push deep on Tuesdays. Now I need to tell you about the district, because the district is the second character in this story. Maybe the main one. Our church district is small, About 30 families, close-set farms, one long valley and the roads that stitch it together. We worship in each other's homes every other Sunday, the way our people always have. Benchies carried from farm to farm in the bench wagon. 3 hours of preaching, then the fellowship meal, the men at the first sitting, the women serving, the long tables of bread and peanut butter spread and pickles and pie. I have served that meal 1,000 times. I know every kitchen in this district the way I know my own, where each woman keeps her good knives, which stove runs hot, whose cellar floods in a wet April. And they know me. That is what I keep coming back to. These were not strangers. These were the women who held my babies an hour after they were born. The men who raised our barn back up in a single day after the fire in '89. When my Sarah had the croup so bad we feared for her, it was Lydia's own mother-in-law, God rest her, who sat with me until dawn. We are woven together, all of us, warp and weft. You cannot pull one thread of this district without feeling it in every other thread. Which is exactly why what happened was possible. I understand that now. It took me a long, dark winter to understand it. But I do. The same closeness that should have protected me is what protected the secret instead. Because in a community where everyone is joined to everyone, the person who speaks an ugly truth pays for it right along with the sinner. Nobody wanted to be the thread that pulled. Let me tell you what they saw. I have gathered it all now, piece by piece, the way you pick glass out of a rug, carefully, and finding more every time you think you're done. Amos and Katie live on the Mill Road, directly across from Lydia's lane. From their front porch you can see her whole dooryard. Amos told me later, when the telling finally started, when it all came pouring out of people like water out of a kicked bucket. Amos told me that the first time he noticed the buggy, he thought nothing of it. A gray-topped buggy like every other gray-topped buggy in the district. But Abram's horse was a big chestnut with one white sock, front left. A horse Abram had raised from a foal and was known for, the way men are known for their horses among us. You could name that horse from a quarter mile. Duke, we called him. My grandchildren fed Duke carrots off their flat little hands. Duke stood tied under Lydia's walnut trees every Tuesday evening from about 5 o'clock until well past dark. In summer, past dark means 9, 10 o'clock. Amos saw it. Katie saw it. Their children grew up seeing it, I want you to understand that. There are young people in my district who cannot remember a time when Abram's buggy was not part of the Tuesday landscape of the Mill Road, the same as the mail truck or the miller boys bringing the cows in. One of Katie's daughters told me, with her face gray as dishwater, that when she was a girl she assumed Abram and Lydia were relatives, that she was 14 before she overheard her parents talking low in the kitchen and understood what it was. 14. A child knew before I did. A child grew into a woman knowing before I did. The Fisher brothers hauled milk along that road. They saw it. The school teacher boarded 2 farms down and walked past the end of Lydia's lane every Tuesday on her way to help with the Yoder children's evening chores. She saw it for 6 years of teaching, then married and moved to another district and carried the secret away with her like a splinter under the skin. The harness maker. The real one. The one Abram actually did visit sometimes. I suppose so his story would have some true threads in it. Because a careful liar always weaves in some true threads. The harness maker saw the buggy on his way home every single week and told me, when the time for telling came, that he had wondered. 11 years of wondering, and never once did his wondering make the 4-mile trip to my kitchen door. And here is the one that took the legs out from under me. My sister. My own sister, Mary, 2 years younger than me. The person who has known me longer than anyone alive on this earth. Mary's husband's cousin farms the piece behind Lydia's. Mary knew by the 3rd year. She has admitted it to me now, sitting at my kitchen table with her hands wrapped around a coffee cup she never once drank from, tears dripping off her chin onto my clean oilcloth. She knew for 8 years. 8 years of sitting beside me at quiltings. 8 years of singing out of the same oarsband at church, our shoulders touching on the bench. 8 years of watching me pack a lunch for Abram on Tuesday mornings when she happened to be visiting. Watching me wrap his sandwich in waxed paper and tuck an apple in beside it, and saying nothing. She says she prayed about it every one of those years. She says she asked God to either give her the courage to tell me or take the burden of knowing away. I told her God is not a coat rack. You cannot hang your duty on him and walk away lighter. I said that to my own sister, in my own kitchen, and I am not sorry yet. The bishop says I will need to become sorry, in time, for the hard things I said in my anger. Maybe so. I am working on a great many things in my heart these days, and I tell you honestly, the line is long, and my sister's coat is not near the front of it. But I am getting ahead of myself. You still don't know how I found out, and I promised you that part, because it is the part I would not believe if someone told it to me. If I read it in one of those paperback novels my English neighbor lends me. Yes, I read them. I am a sinner in small ways too. I would say the writer had gotten lazy. Too neat, I would say. Too cruel to be true. But the truest things are usually the cruelest, I have learned. Life does not soften its plots for us the way a kind writer would. It was the last Tuesday in September, a year ago now. A golden day, the kind we get maybe 6 of in a year, when the light comes slanting through the dust of the corn harvest and everything looks like it has been dipped in honey. There was a work frolic at the Lapp farm. The young couple, Elam and his new bride, Emma, married in the spring and just moved into the district from up north. Emma was 19, round-faced, eager as a pup. The kind of new bride who wants so badly to belong that she says yes to everything and volunteers for more. We were putting up the last of the tomatoes for her, a whole gang of us women, because her garden had come in late and heavy, and she didn't have her canning legs under her yet. I was at the stove with the water bath, and Emma was beside me skinning tomatoes, chattering the way young brides chatter, half questions and half apologies. She was still learning everyone, who belonged to who, which farms went with which families. It is a lot to learn, a district. She had a habit of thinking out loud while she sorted people in her head. And she said, I can hear it still. I will hear it until I die. The kettle rumbling and the smell of scalded tomatoes and her light young voice. She said, Now, Abram who is married to you, Rebecca, is he the same Abram who keeps his horse at Lydia's place on the mill road? Because Elam and I passed there Tuesday last, after dark it was, and I saw the buggy and the chestnut horse, and Elam said, That's Abram's rig, and I thought. But Abram lives clear the other side, so I wondered, does he board the horse there, or... And then she stopped, because the kitchen had stopped. I want you to picture it, 8 women in a farm kitchen, every one of them mid-motion. A paring knife halfway around a tomato, a jar lifted, a funnel held in the air, and every single one of them gone still as ice. Not confused, not curious. Still, the stillness of people who know exactly what has just happened and are praying to be anywhere else on God's earth. Emma looked up from her tomatoes into that stillness, and I watched her young face change as she understood. Not the whole of it, but enough. Enough to know she had dropped something that could never be picked back up. Nobody said, "Whatever do you mean?" Nobody said, "Oh, that must be someone else's buggy." Nobody laughed and turned it into nothing, which is a thing women in a kitchen can do with almost anything if they choose to. I have seen it done 100 times. They chose not to, or they couldn't, and their silence told me more than a signed confession. I stood there with my ladle dripping on the stovetop, and I looked around that kitchen at 7 faces I had known my whole life, and not one pair of eyes would meet mine. Katie looked at her hands. Mary, my sister, was there. Did I say that? My sister was there. Mary looked at the window like there was something out in the yard worth seeing. Old Anna Byler, 83 years old, closed her eyes altogether, and her lips started moving. And I knew she was praying, and I knew what for. I set the ladle down. My own voice came out of me from somewhere far off, calm as anything, the way I am told voices do when the house is already burning, and some deep part of you knows there is no sense in shouting now. I said, "How long?" Nobody answered. So I asked it again, and I looked straight at my sister when I did. "Mary, how long?" She was crying before she got a word out, and that was an answer all by itself, wasn't it? You don't cry over a boarding arrangement. You don't weep into your apron because your brother-in-law leases pasture. She stood there at that young girl's window with her shoulders shaking, and finally she said, "And I give her this much." She did not lie to me. "Not once the dam broke," she said. "A long time. Rebecca, a very long time." I took my sweater off the peg. I remember being surprised that my hands worked, that they did the buttons. Emma was crying now too, poor child, saying she was sorry, she was so sorry she didn't know. And I stopped at the door and I took her wet young face in my 2 hands and I said, "You have nothing to be sorry for. You are the only honest woman in this kitchen. And I am ashamed of that now, a little. It was a knife I threw at the others through her, but only a little." Then I walked out into that golden September light, and I hitched up my own driving horse, Old Nell, and I did something I had never once done in 11 years of Tuesdays. I drove to the Mill Road. It is 4 miles. I have never known 4 miles to be so long or so short at the same time. Part of me was hollering that there would be an explanation, that I would come around the bend and the lane would be empty, and I could turn around and go home and take my shame at doubting my husband to God in private. That part of me talked the whole way, loud and fast, like a peddler. And underneath it, the other part, the field that knows the rock is there, that part said nothing at all. That part had always known where we were going. That part had maybe been waiting 11 years for the drive. The sun was going down when I came around the bend past the Byler pasture, and the walnut trees along Lydia's lane were black against all that orange sky, and standing under them, tied where he had been tied every Tuesday since before my youngest grandchildren drew breath, was Duke. Big chestnut, 1 white sock, front left, dozing on 3 legs, comfortable as a deacon. A horse that knew exactly where he was, because he had been coming there longer than some marriages last. And Abram's buggy behind him. And a lamp already lit in Lydia's kitchen window, warm and yellow and domestic as anything, and 2 shapes moving in it. I want to tell you I marched up that lane. In the story I sometimes tell myself at night, I march up that lane and I fling open that door and I am magnificent. But this is the true telling, so here is the truth. I sat in my buggy at the end of the lane and I could not move. I sat there while the sky went from orange to gray to a deep blue, and I watched my husband through another woman's kitchen window. Just shapes, just shadows crossing back and forth behind the glass, and yet I could read the whole language of it. He crossed the room the way a man crosses his own room. He sat down at the table the way a man sits at his own table. She set something down in front of him and rested her hand. I saw this. God help me. I saw the little shadow of it. She rested her hand on his shoulder for a moment, easy and thoughtless, the way I had rested my hand on that same shoulder 10,000 times across 41 years. And he did not startle. He leaned into it, like a horse leaning into a familiar hand. That was the moment my marriage ended. Not in the bishop's front room months later, not in any of the shouting that never happened, or the weeping that did. Right there, at the end of a lane in the blue dark, watching a shadow lean into a shadow. You can survive knowing your husband has a secret. What you cannot survive, what I could not survive, was seeing how comfortable he was inside it. This was not a fever. This was not a fall. This was a home. He had a home there. He had 2 homes, and I had somewhat less than 1. Because mine, I now understood, had been furnished throughout with lies. Every stick of it. Nell shifted her weight and the harness creaked, and I gathered the lines and turned her around, and I drove home in the dark. And here is a strange thing I will confess to you because I promised everything. On that drive home, the feeling that came was not rage. Rage came later, and stayed long, and cooks in me yet on bad days. What came first, alone on that dark road, was embarrassment. 61 years old, and my first feeling was the hot-faced shame of a schoolgirl. They all knew. All those Sundays, all those quiltings, all those weddings and funerals and barn raisings, every fellowship meal where I passed the bread down tables of people who knew. I thought of every kindness done me in 11 years, and every one of them curdled at once, because behind every casserole and every quilted potholder and every how is Abram keeping had been the knowing. I had been the district's great unspoken thing. Children had grown up trained around my ignorance like vines around a post. I got home before he did. Of course I did. He never came home before 9 on a Tuesday. And now I knew why. And I sat in my own kitchen without lighting the lamp, and I waited in the dark. And I heard Duke's hooves in the lane at 9:30, heard Abram whistling as he put the horse up, heard his boots on the porch boards I had swept that morning. He came in and lit the lamp himself, and when the light came up, and he saw me sitting there in the dark, with my sweater still on, my hands folded on the table like a woman at a viewing he knew. I watched 41 years of a face I thought I could read, do something I had never seen it do. It went white, then gray, then very, very still. That same stillness from the kitchen, the stillness of the court. And do you know what my husband said to me? The first words out of him, after 11 years of Tuesdays. He said, "Who told you?" Not "I'm sorry," not "let me explain," not even my name. Who told you? As if the crime under this roof was the telling. As if the secret had been a jointly held thing, his and the district's together, a barn they had all built and maintained, and someone had gone and left the door open, and he wanted to know who. I said, "Nobody told me, Abram. That's the whole of it, nobody told me. 11 years, and nobody told me. I found out from a bride who's lived here 6 weeks. Because 6 weeks is not yet long enough to learn what everyone else in this valley learned, that Rebecca is to be kept in the dark like a cellar. And then I asked him the question I had driven 4 miles home with, the only question that mattered to me that night. And I will tell you, it is not the question the English women ask in the paperbacks. I did not ask if he loved her. I did not ask about their sin, the particulars of it. I asked him this. When I had pneumonia in my lungs, Abram, 6 winters back, and you drove for the doctor in the ice, did you stop there on the way? Was there ever a Tuesday you missed for me? Ever one? In 11 years, he stood there with his hat still in his hands, my husband, and he looked at the floor, and he could not answer. And that silence was the truest thing he had said to me in over a decade. I did not sleep in our bed that night, nor any night since. I moved my things into the daughter's room at the end of the hall, the room that had been Sarah's, then Ruth's, then the sewing room, and I lay on that narrow bed listening to the house I had kept for 41 years settle and tick around me like something dying slow. And somewhere down the hall my husband lay in our marriage bed alone, and I hoped the ceiling had a great deal to say to him, because I did not. The days after were the strangest of my life, and I have birthed 7 children, so I do not say that lightly. Because here is what the English perhaps do not know about us. We do not have the machinery for this that your world has. There was no lawyer to call. There is no divorce among us. There will be no divorce. Whatever else comes, we hold marriage to be until death. And I made that vow before God, not before Abram. And God has not broken faith with me even if Abram has. There was no storming out to a sister's house across the country, because my sister was part of the wound. There was no telephone to fill with my weeping. There was just the 2 of us in a farmhouse, bound together by vows and land and children and cows that do not milk themselves, whatever the state of your heart, and the terrible intimacy of chores. He still came to breakfast. I still cooked it. You cannot imagine what that is. Cooking eggs for a man on the 4th morning after. Your hands doing their 50-year work while your chest is a burnt-out barn. The body keeps house long after the heart has moved out. We spoke of the farm and nothing else. Fence wire. A cow gone off her feed. Whether the corn in the low field would beat the frost. And around and beneath and behind every one of those little dry sentences, the thing sat in the room with us, huge and silent, like a draft horse standing in the kitchen that we had both agreed to step around. But a thing like this does not stay in a kitchen, not in my world. By the following Sunday, a church Sunday held that turn at the Fisher place, the whole district knew that I knew. I could feel it the moment I climbed down from the buggy. A district full of people who had spent 11 years not looking at a thing now could not stop looking at me. Conversations went quiet as I passed the way a hayfield goes quiet under a hawk's shadow. Women who had known me since girlhood suddenly needed to be elsewhere, checking on children who were fine, fetching dishes that were already fetched. And then, one by one, over the weeks that followed, they came to me. That was its own ordeal, and nobody warns you about it, the procession of the guilty. They came to my kitchen door with pies and with excuses, and I learned that people who keep a secret for 11 years have spent 11 years polishing their reasons, and every reason shines, and every reason is worthless. Katie came first, Katie from the Mill Road, who had watched it from her own front porch since the beginning. She sat at my table and wept and said, "We thought surely you knew, Rebecca." As the years went by, we told ourselves you must know that it was an arrangement, an understanding between the 3 of you, and it was not our place to speak of another marriage's private business. An understanding. They had rather believe I was a party to my own betrayal than trouble themselves to ask me one question. Do you see how tidy that is? By deciding I knew, They excused 11 years of their own silence in one stroke. My supposed knowledge was the pillow they all slept on. The Fisher brothers sent their wives, who said their husbands didn't feel it was a man's place to carry such a tale. The schoolteacher wrote me a letter from her new district, 4 pages. A good letter, an honest one. She at least did not pretend she thought I knew. She said she had been young and afraid, that Lydia was on the school board that paid her wage, that she had decided it was a matter for the ministers, and surely the ministers knew. And there is the next terrible link in the chain, because the ministers did know. The deacon knew. I will not say his name, because his family has suffered in this too. But the deacon knew by the 4th year he had been approached, quietly, by 2 different men of the district troubled in their conscience. And both times, I have now learned, the matter was prayed over and weighed, and it was decided to speak to Abram privately. And they did speak to Abram privately, twice. 2 private admonishments over 11 years. 2 woodshed conversations between men, both of which ended with Abram bowing his head and saying he would put it right, and both of which he ignored the way you ignore a dog that barks, but is chained. And it was decided. This is the phrase I heard again and again. It was decided. Always in that passive voice, as though decisions fall out of trees. It was decided not to bring the matter to me. Because, as it was explained to me at last, telling me would destroy a home that might yet be saved, and would spread the sin further. And because Lydia was a widow alone and public shame might drive her from the church altogether, and the loss of a soul weighed heavier than the deceiving of a wife. The loss of her soul weighed heavier. Someone actually said those words in my front room, a man of God, a man I have known 50 years, and he said them gently, kindly, believing every word, and I sat there with my hands in my lap and I thought, and what of my soul, all those years? What was I in the ledger? I will tell you what I was. I was the load-bearing wall, the whole structure of everyone's peace, Abram's comfort, Lydia's reputation, the district's quiet, the minister's hope of a tidy repentance someday. Every bit of it rested on me remaining ignorant, and so my ignorance became a thing the whole community silently agreed to maintain, the way we maintain a road. Everyone hauling their little load of silence to keep it smooth. You may ask. The English always ask this. My neighbor Mrs. Callahan asked it straight out over the fence. You may ask, why didn't Lydia's neighbors say something to Lydia? Why didn't the women shame her at a quilting? Why didn't the men freeze Abram out at the horse sales? And the answer is that some did, in the small sideways manner of our people. Lydia had stopped being invited to certain things, I learned afterward, in a gradual way that could always be explained by other reasons. Abram was passed over for certain positions of trust. There had been, for 11 years, a whole invisible weather system of consequence moving around those 2 people. Everyone participating in it, everyone reading it, and I, the person at the center of the storm, had been left standing in what I thought was sunshine. They punished the sin in every language, except the one that would have reached me. And I have to be careful here, in my heart, because it would be easy, it would be delicious, to make this a story where I am the only clean one, and my whole community is rotten. That is a lie too, just a sweeter tasting one. These are not wicked people. That is what makes it unbearable. Wicked people, you can wall off. These are people who sat up with my sick children. People who put a roof over my hay in one day when lightning took the barn. Every one of them, alone, is kind. And all of them, together, chose comfort over truth for 11 years, and each one's silence made the next one's silence easier, until the silence was just part of the district, like the creek or the ridge, a feature of the landscape nobody made and nobody could move. The bishop said to me, in that long gray winter of meetings, "Rebecca, the community failed you." But it was love that failed you. Everyone was trying to protect someone. And I said to him, yes, everyone was trying to protect someone, and everyone chose someone, and no one chose me. He had no answer for that. He is a good man, our bishop, old now. And I watched my words land on him like wet snow on old shoulders, and I did not take them back. Now I must tell you about Lydia, because I went to see her. Everyone told me not to. My daughters begged me not to. But I had spent 11 years having my part in my own life decided by others, and I was done being managed. On a cold Tuesday morning, I chose a Tuesday on purpose. Let no one tell you a plain woman cannot be pointed. I hitched Nell and I drove the 4 miles down the mill road in the broad open daylight, past Amos and Katie's porch, and I turned up that lane under the bare walnut trees where my husband's horse had dozed away 11 years of evenings, and I knocked on her door. She opened it, and I watched her face do what Abrams had done. White, gray, still. She is younger than me. 52, 53, not a beauty, whatever you're picturing. A plain, tired-looking woman with flour on her wrists, because she had been baking, and the smell of her bread came out of that warm kitchen at me like an insult, because it was a good smell, a homely smell, the smell of the home she had made partly out of the timbers of mine. I said, "You know who I am." She said, "I do." And then she stepped back and said, "Will you come in?" And I did, because I had not come to fight on a doorstep like a hawker. I sat at her kitchen table. It is a smaller kitchen than mine. Cleaner, too. I'll give her that. But then she had less life churning through hers. No grandchildren's boots, no husbands. Well, 1 day a week of husband. Perhaps that is how she kept it so clean. I will not tell you everything that was said in that kitchen, because some of it belongs to God and the two of us. But I will tell you the shape of it. I did not scream. She did not deny. She made coffee neither of us drank. There is a great deal of undrunk coffee in this story. I think our people make it in a crisis the way the English dial their telephones. Just to have something in the hands. And at one point she said the thing she had clearly been saying to herself for 11 years, the raft she had floated on. She said, "I never took him from you, Rebecca. He went home to you every night. He kept your farm. He raised your children. He sat beside you in church. I only ever had Tuesdays. You had everything else." And I looked at that woman, and something became very clear and very calm in me, and I said what I now believe to be the truest thing I have ever said aloud. I said, "No, Lydia. You had the man. I had the chores. Whatever was alive in Abram, whatever laughed and leaned and looked forward to a day of the week, that came here. What came home to me was the harness. You didn't have Tuesdays, Lydia. You had him on Tuesdays, and I had his absence the other 6 days, and did not even know what it was I was living with. You did not take 1 day from me. You took the marrow and left me the bone, and I set that bone on my table every evening for 11 years, and thanked God for my portion." She cried then, and I want to be honest with you about what I felt. Watching her cry at her own table with her flour-dusted hands over her face. I felt pity. I did. It rose up in me before I could stop it. Old habit of a lifetime. Because she was a widow and lonely, and had grabbed at warmth like a woman grabbing at a rope in a river. And I could see all of it. The whole human shape of it. I felt pity, and I did not offer it. I let her cry, and I did not reach across that table, and for a plain woman raised her whole life to comfort, doing nothing was the loudest thing I have ever done. Forgiveness will come. I am commanded to it, and I will be obedient in time when it is true. Because our Lord does not want it counterfeit, but comfort. Comfort she can get where she got her Tuesdays. I stood to leave, and at the door I turned, because there was one more thing I had come for. The real thing. The question under all the others. Did you ever, I asked her, in 11 years, think of telling me? Not stopping. I understand why you didn't stop. A starving woman doesn't push away the plate. But telling me, did it ever once seem to you that I had a right to know the truth of my own life? And Lydia looked at me a long moment, and she gave me the only honest answer anyone in this whole affair has given me without weeping first. She said, "No." Because everyone knew, Rebecca. From the second year, everyone knew. And when everyone knows a thing and no one speaks it, you begin to believe it has been allowed. The district's silence felt like permission. I told myself if it were truly a wickedness, someone would have ended it. No one ended it. So, we went on. The district's silence felt like permission. There it is. That is the sentence I have carried around for a year like a stone in my apron pocket. That is the sentence I would nail to the church bench wagon if nailing things were our way. Every person who kept the secret to keep the peace was, without ever meaning to, signing the permission slip again each Tuesday. Silence is never nothing, my friends. Silence is always building something. For 11 years, my community's silence built a second home for my husband, board by board, and they called the building of it kindness. Abram was placed under the ban that winter, excommunicated, set back from the church until true repentance, the full discipline of our people. So was Lydia. I will not pretend to you that watching it happen gave me pleasure, because it did not. It was like watching a limb come off a tree in an ice storm. Necessary maybe, natural maybe, but nothing you could call good. For 6 weeks I ate my meals at a separate table, from my own husband in my own house, as the discipline requires. And if you want to know what a broken marriage tastes like, it tastes like 2 plates of the same food going quiet in the same room at 2 different tables. And here is the turn I did not see coming, though maybe you do. You, who have watched more of these stories than I have lived. Abram repented. In the spring, before the whole congregation, my husband of 41 years got down on his knees on the floor of the Byler's front room, the same room where we had sung at his mother's funeral, and he made his confession, full and specific and terrible to hear, his voice breaking on it, and he asked forgiveness of God, of the church, and of me, by name, in front of everyone. Our way requires the church to receive a true confession and restore the sinner. And they did. Hands were shaken. The ban was lifted. By our faith, by the whole ancient machinery of it, the matter is now, formally, settled, closed, forgiven, and not to be spoken of again. That is our teaching. When the church forgives, the community buries the offense, and no one may dig it up. Do you see it? Do you see the shape of the trap? Gentle and perfect as a snare. The same community that would not speak of his sin for 11 years is now, by the rules of our faith, not permitted to speak of it. Forever, the silence that hid it has been replaced, seamlessly, by the silence that absolves it. There was one single winter, one, in which the truth of my life was allowed to stand out in the open air, and then the doors of the district closed over it again, and I am expected to walk forward, as though the ground behind me is smooth. And Lydia made her peace with the church as well, and so on church Sundays I now share a bench room with both of them, and I pass her the bread at fellowship meal, because that is what restored members do. And the whole district watches me do it out of the corners of its eyes, and everyone calls it healing. So where does that leave me? That is what you're wondering, and it is what my daughters wonder, and my sons, though my sons mostly stand in doorways with their hats in their hands looking like their father, which is its own daily bread of sorrow. I will tell you where it leaves me, as honestly as I can, because I did not tell you this whole long story to hand you a false ending, neither the bitter kind nor the sweet. I am still married. I will die married. Abram lives in this house, and we have found our way to something, not a marriage as you would call it, and not as I once called it either, but a kind of weather two old people can live in. He is changed, I will say that for him, and I have turned it over many times to test whether it is true or only the old field knowledge lying to me again, and I believe it is true. There is no Tuesday anymore. There is no whistling, either. He is quieter now than ever. But it is a different quiet. The old quiet was a door closed against me, and this one is a man sitting in the ruins of himself, sorting boards. Some evenings he reads the Bible aloud again while I mend, because I let him, and his voice on the old words is the same low, even voice. And some nights I can listen to it, and some nights I have to get up and go stand on the porch in the cold until the sound stops. He tried, once, in the spring after his confession, to explain it to me. The why of it. I stopped him before the second sentence. I said, "Abram, there is no why that is any use to me. A why is for the person who did the thing, so they can live with it. I don't need to live with why you went. I need to live with the fact that I peeled potatoes every Tuesday for 11 years, while the whole valley knew where you were. Your why is between you and God. My how I go on, that one is mine, and you can't help me with it, because you are the hole in the middle of it. He has not tried again. He does small things instead. The wood box is always full now. My garden got turned this spring before I asked. Last month I found that he had oiled the treadle of my sewing machine, which had been squeaking for 2 years, and I sat down in front of that silent treadle and cried harder than I cried the night of the lamp in the window, and I could not have told you entirely why. There is something about a guilty man oiling a sewing machine. It is so small, and it is so late, and it is so real, all at once. That is what I have instead of a marriage now. A man paying an unpayable debt in oil and firewood, one small coin at a time. Both of us knowing he will die before the balance moves. And Duke, you'll want to know about the horse. Everyone does. It's strange what people fasten on. Abram sold Duke at the New Holland sale that first winter, without a word to me before or after. I understood it. That horse knew the way to the mill road better than he knew the way to our own lane, and neither of us could look at him. A good horse, and none of it his fault, and he carried the blame down the road all the same. There is a parable in that somewhere, but I am too tired to chase it. With the district, it is more complicated, and I expect it always will be. I still live among them. I will die among them, and they will bury me. These same hands. And there is a comfort in that which I cannot explain to English ears, and an ache in it I cannot explain to anyone. Some fences have mended true. Emma, the young bride, the tomato girl, my accidental angel. Emma is dear to me now as an 8th child. She comes every week, and we bake. And she is the only person in this district, I am certain, has never lied to me. And I find I would give a great deal these days for that plain, cheap-sounding treasure. a person who has never lied to me. Old Anna Byler, before she passed last fall, took my hand at a quilting and said, "I knew, and I was wrong, and I have no excuse, and I will not insult you by making one." 84 years old. It cost her something to say, and it paid me something to hear, and that is the only kind of sorry that has moved the needle at all. The kind with no excuse stapled to it. My sister and I speak again. I want you to know that. You who may be carrying your own 11-year stone against a sister. We speak. We bake for the same weddings. Last month we put a quilt in the frame together for her granddaughter, and for whole hours it was almost as it ever was, our needles going in the lamplight, and then she said something about the pattern. Nothing. A nothing remark. And I heard underneath it 8 years of her voice saying nothing at my elbow, and the room went cold for me for a minute, and she felt it go cold, and we both sewed on. That is what forgiveness actually is, I have learned. It is not a door that opens once. It is a stitch you make over and over every day, and some days the thread breaks, and you knot it, and go on. The English word forgive sounds like a single thing you do. Our life together has taught me it is a chore, like milking. It is never finished. You just do it again in the morning. But I have changed, and I will not pretend otherwise to make anyone comfortable, because making everyone comfortable is precisely the ditch I crawled out of. I ask questions now, right out loud, in the plainest voice, in kitchens and yards. When something in the district goes quiet in that particular way, and I can hear that quiet now the way a farmer hears a change in his cows, I am fluent in it. It is the one language this whole affair truly taught me. When a kitchen goes still like that, I set down whatever is in my hands and I say, "What is it that everyone knows?" You should see the faces. Twice now, saying it has shaken loose a truth some other woman was living beneath without knowing. There is a wife in the next district over who came to me last summer, sent by whispers, because word had gone around that Rebecca is the one who asks. We sat on my porch and I told her what I am telling you, and at the end she asked me, "What do I do?" And I told her the only wisdom I own. I cannot tell you what to do about your husband. But do not let anyone tell you that keeping you blind is a way of keeping you safe. A secret kept from you is not protection. It is everyone else's comfort, purchased with your one life. Because that is the heart of it, friends. That is what 11 years of Tuesdays taught me. And if you take one thing from an old plain woman's story, take this. When a whole crowd of good people stays silent, each one believes they are only holding one small stone. My sister held one stone. Katie held one stone. The deacon, the milk haulers, the school teacher, one stone each, and every stone had a kind reason carved on it. Not my place. Surely she knows. It would only cause pain. The ministers will handle it. But nobody ever stands back to see what all the stones are building together. I can tell you what they built. They built a wall around one woman's life, 11 years high with her inside it, and they built it out of kindness, stone by kind stone, and not one of them ever had to feel like a liar, because no one ever lied to me. They just never told me the truth, and I have learned there is a country between lying and truth-telling, a wide gray country, and my whole district lived in it for 11 years, and it is the most comfortable country in the world for everyone, except the person the silence is about. I am 62 now, on Tuesday evenings, and it is still Tuesdays that test me. The week has a bruise in it that I expect will outlive me. On Tuesday evenings, I take my coffee out to the porch, even in the cold, and I sit where I can see the road, and I watch the buggies go by in the dusk. My neighbors, going about their evenings. And I have stopped wondering, when I see a buggy where a buggy maybe oughtn't be, whether everyone knows something I don't. Now I wonder something better. I wonder who might need me to be the one who speaks. Because I made myself a promise on that dark drive home from the mill road, with Nell's hooves keeping time and my whole life rearranging itself behind my eyes. And I have kept it, and I will keep it to my grave. No woman within reach of my voice will ever stand in a kitchen full of the suddenly silent and be the last to know her own life, not while I have breath. The district can keep its peace. I will keep the truth, and I will give it away free to anyone who is owed it. That is my story. All of it, near enough, and truer than anything anyone told me for 11 years. If it stirred something in you, if you've ever been the one they all protected into blindness, or, harder to admit, the one who held a kind stone in your hand and stayed quiet, then say so in the comments below. Because I have learned the mending starts where the speaking starts. Share this story with someone who needs to hear that silence is never neutral. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notifications and give this video a like before you go. It costs you nothing, and it helps these quiet stories find the people standing in kitchens right now, wondering why the room just went still. God keep you, and may somebody always love you enough to tell you the truth.